She loved him enough to wait forever, but he loved her only enough to return when it was already too late. In the quiet village of Willowbrook, where the roads curved like tired promises and every sunset looked like a memory dissolving into the hills, lived a girl named Elyrus, oft-spoken, wide-eyed, always looking like she was searching for something she once held but somehow lost. She had loved only once in her life, and that love had the kind of silence that destroys without warning. His name was Rowan, a boy from the city of Knoxville, whose presence felt like warm storms, intense but never lasting long enough to feel safe. They met one summer when Rowan's family visited Willowbrook for a short escape from city noise, and from the moment Elira saw him standing near the old riverside bridge, she felt something in her chest shift, like her heart knew this boy before she did. Their love grew the way impossible things do, quietly at first, then all at once, in stolen mornings, secret walks through the wheat fields, and long afternoons where Rowan would tell her how the city lights felt empty compared to her eyes. But as summer ended, so did the illusion that love alone could hold two worlds together. Rowan left for Knoxville, promising to return soon, and Elira, young enough to believe in promises, old enough to fear them, waited. Days turned into months, letters turned into fewer letters, and eventually Rowan stopped writing altogether. But Elira never stopped waiting. She became the girl who visited the riverside every morning, wearing the same fragile hope, as if Rowan's footsteps might appear on the dusty path one day. Her friend Arlen, kind, steady, hopelessly in love with her, tried everything to pull her out of the memories she had wrapped herself in, but Elira's heart was stubborn. She believed love returned if it was real, and that belief was the only thing she had left of Rowan. But love sometimes becomes the very thing that breaks a person, and Elira didn't notice when she began breaking. Meanwhile, in Knoxville, Rowan was drowning in his own battles. Life had never been gentle with him. His parents fought constantly. Money was always a ghost slipping through their fingers, and Rowan's dreams of becoming a musician felt like a joke in a world that didn't listen. He wanted to return to Elira, he truly did, but every time he tried, life demanded something from him: time, energy, hope, even his self, worth. And slowly, Rowan became someone who didn't know how to come back to the only person who ever saw him clearly. Years passed before fate finally pushed Rowan back to Willowbrook, exhausted, regretful, and carrying more sorrow than he left with. But when he returned, Willowbrook didn't look the same. The fields were duller, the river quieter, the village slower. And Elira, she wasn't there waiting by the riverside the way she always had. Instead, he found Arlen, no longer the shy friend he remembered, but a man whose eyes carried the grief of loving someone who loved someone else. When Rowan asked about Elira, Arlen's silence was the kind that cuts deeper than words. Finally, Rowan found her near an old oak tree, sitting alone, looking out at the hills like her soul had grown tired of coming back to her body. When she saw him, the world froze, not in the way it does when love returns, but in the way it does when you realize love came back too late. Elira didn't rush to him. She didn't smile. She didn't break down. She simply looked at him with a softness that felt like forgiveness and a sadness that felt like goodbye. And in that moment, Rowan understood. Sometimes the cruelest thing life does is bring someone back only after the heart learns to live without them. Rowan sat beside Elira under the oak tree, both of them staring at the hills in front of them. The afternoon sun was gentle, brushing the village in gold, but the space between them felt colder than the winter they once dreamed of spending together. He wanted to speak, apologize, explain, beg, but each word fell apart in his mouth before reaching the air. It was Elira who finally broke the silence. "You came back late, Rowan," she whispered, and the simplicity of her words shattered him more than any anger ever could. He looked into her eyes, but they no longer held the warmth he once knew. They were softer, calmer, but distant, like she had stored all her tears in some hidden place and locked it away for good. "Elira, I never stopped," he tried, but she shook her head gently. "I stopped," she said, and Rowan felt something inside him collapse. She told him how she waited at the riverside for years, how every morning felt like a wound reopening, how every letter that never came taught her a new way to break. And then she spoke of Alan, how he stayed, how he walked beside her through her quietest days, how he never asked for her heart, but gave his anyway. Rowan listened, every word carving regret deeper into his bones. But Elira wasn't angry. She wasn't bitter. She had simply accepted that some loves are meant to be memories, not destinations. "You were my almost," she said softly, "the love that shaped me, not the love that stayed." Rowan felt the weight of every choice he had made crush into him. He realized too late that love is not about grand moments. It's about showing up, even when life makes it hard, and he hadn't shown up. Not once. Alan approached quietly, stopping a few steps away, as though he knew this moment wasn't his to interrupt. But Elira turned to him with a tired smile, the kind people only give to the ones who stayed when everyone else left. Alan's eyes softened, and Rowan understood instantly. Alan was the home Elira found after losing the one she waited for. Rowan stood slowly, feeling the world tilt in a direction he couldn't follow. "If this is goodbye," he said, voice trembling, "then I hope life gives you everything I couldn't." Elira nodded, a single tear escaping despite her calm. "Take care of the version of you I always believed in," she whispered. Rowan left Willowbrook that evening with a heaviness that would follow him for years. And Elira watched him go, not with hope, not with longing, but with the quiet peace of someone who finally understood that healing sometimes begins with letting the wrong person walk away. Alan walked to her side and gently took her hand. Elira didn't pull away, and for the first time in years she felt her heart shift, not toward the past, but toward the possibility of something new, something gentle, something present. Some loves break you. Some loves heal you, and some loves teach you who you were meant to become. Rowan was the love that broke her. Alan was the love that stayed, and Elira, she was finally learning to stay for herself.